Hey y'all. Thank you for tuning in tonight for Millennials Speak. We have an amazing episode for you guys. We are partnering with some Gen Z tonight. Woo! We are excited to hear from them. We are excited they joined the platform tonight because believe me, y'all, they got some stuff to say. And I think we need to hear it. I think as millennials and older people, we can learn from Gen Z. You know, they have a lot of great perspectives when it comes to different things. So I'm excited. Alice, what you got to say?
I am ready. I know that this conversation we're going to have tonight, I just know that it's going to be amazing. And so I don't even want to say too much because I feel like they're going to say it all. So let's bring them up. Let's introduce them.
That's right. Okay, let's bring our guests in. Let's go. I'm going to start with our Gen Z. I'm going to start with our millennials. Okay. Let's go, millennials. Okay, quickly introduce yourself.
I'm here.
You said I'm here. Introduce yourself.
Oh, introduce yourself. My name is RJ Flemister. I am a business owner. I am a worship leader. I do all those things.
Okay.
My name is Leon Witherspoon. I'm from Houston, Texas. I'm also an entrepreneur. I own a record label company, and I'm also a music teacher as well. So I look forward to engaging in this conversation.
Okay, awesome. Okay, y'all ready for this? Let's bring our Gen Z in.
Bring them up.
Woo.
Hey.
Yeah.
Hey.
Look at
Hello.
Hey, Gen Z. Okay,
Hi.
Imani, go ahead. Introduce yourself.
Well, my name is Imani Eddings. I'm 17, and I do everything. The list is long.
She not lying, y'all. She's definitely a servant, for real. Okay, Jeremiah or Jay.
Named Jeremiah Costello, 20 years old, and I hoop, essentially.
Jeremiah, please be for real tonight.
19 years old.
Okay. And he does hoop. That was the truth, guys. All right, y'all. So y'all see our panel. We are full tonight. Okay, we got a lot of people, but of course, again, we got a lot of different perspectives. We got the male perspective, women perspective, and of course our Gen Z perspective. So like Alice said, this conversation is going to be lit. Okay, it's going to be a banger. So make sure y'all watch the whole episode. So Alice got a quick little icebreaker for us, and we're going to get into our questions.
Okay, guys, so our icebreaker for today is we are going to ask you guys a question, and it's going to pertain to all of us. If you have ever done it or heard of it, you can raise your hand. If you haven't, obviously, keep your hand down. So our first question is going to be, how many people experience cleaning on a Saturday growing up? Okay. How many of you had to memorize John 3:16 as a child? Okay.
Yeah.
How many of you, while going to school, had to listen to, we'll say, Magic School Bus? Watch it, listen to it.
Had to, like mandatory.
Not mandatory. You know how, like in school, they'll play a science movie.
Oh yeah, like it was a part of the curriculum. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Let's do another one. How many people growing up had Sunday dinner? Let's do that. Okay.
Sunday dinner.
Last but not least, how many of us have grown up on VeggieTales?
Oh, yeah.
A little bit.
Okay, so what I want the audience to see tonight is that none of these questions were pre-planned. I thought of them on the top of my head. And regardless of that, even though we are all born in different generations, we had similar experiences. So tonight, as you listen, I want people to just realize that even though we're going to be talking to different generations, you may be able to relate with somebody's story. And so I don't want you to tune them out because they're from a different generation, but I want you to hone in on the wisdom and the knowledge and the nuggets that they're going to give tonight.
Right. I love that. Love that, love that, love that. So yeah, we're gonna get into these questions. We have questions for for the Gen Z, and Gen Z also have questions for us. I'm excited about that. So we'll do a few for the Gen Z, and then we'll ask one of them to ask us a question. And for our millennials, when they the question, just in case they don't elaborate on it, let's just add some commentary. Let's just help them up, and that's it. So y'all ready? Y'all ready, Gen Z? Okay.
Yes,
First
sir.
question. What, in your opinion, in your experience, from your experience, what does it mean to be set apart? Anybody can go.
I'll go first.
Okay, go ahead, Imani.
So what I think set apart means is to be like set apart from the world and like worldly things. And yeah, basically simple as that. Like,
okay,
you're different.
Okay, Jay, what you add into that?
What does it mean to be set apart? Mainly just like Christian habits, you know what I'm saying? Like what goes into being a Christian, just like the habits that come with it, like, you know what I'm saying? Like just trying your best every day to know Jesus more, I would say. You know what I'm saying?
I like both of your answers. Does anybody want to add to theirs?
I don't want to add to the answers, but I would like to ask them a follow-up. Do y'all feel like in the world we live in today, is it hard for you to be set apart in a generation that wants to like worship everything but God?
For me personally, no, but probably for others, I would say for me, no, because I grew up like on a strong foundation, and so I already had like things being taught to me to help me in now what I'm in this generation.
And when you say, because I like that answer, but I want to hone in for your generation. When you say a strong foundation, what does that look like? Because there may be some parents who are listening as well as future parents. Like I'm sure Datavia, myself, and even y'all in the future will want to have children. What does that look like to impart a strong foundation?
So for me, like every Sunday I went to church, every Bible study, I was there. But that's also because like my parents were working in the church. I was in every like church activities there in the summer. We also did things at home because you're not only supposed to do stuff at church, you're supposed to do it outside as well. So yeah, basically just that. And then at first, because in the beginning, I don't want to say it was a force to go to church, but I had to go because they was going. But then it allowed me to grow my own relationship with God.
And I think essentially that's what that being a part is like. That it is up to you to build that foundation and that personal relationship with Christ. Like you're chasing after Christ daily, like Jeremiah said. It's a daily thing. It's an active thing. You're chasing after God every day, and that what keeps you set apart. Like that at the end, at the beginning, in the middle of the day, I run to God. That's who I'm chasing after, and that's what keeps me set apart from anything that goes on in the world. So that was good, Imani and Jeremiah. That was real good. Did any of our gentlemen want to add to that?
I guess I can add, from my perspective, I grew up very, very Kojic, and so set apart was very practical and spiritual in that the way you dressed, the way you talk had to be a noticeable difference. There had to be a noticeable difference between you and those that were of the world. So I adopted that in my life, even though I may have friends that are have different walks of life. You can look at us and see a difference because of some things that are noticeable. Whether how we think, how we talk, places we go, the things that we do, and so that's how I adopt that to my life, and that's the belief that I live with.
Okay, I like that answer.
Yeah, for me, when you said set apart, I thought of my grandfather saying holiness. Because what being set apart is not just an area or a section of your life. It's your whole life, just like worship, right? It's lifestyle. Everything about you has to be evident that you walk with the Lord. And so that looks different for everybody, of course.
Right.
But I think really set apart is, now that I'm growing up, set apart means being authentic in God. So being authentic in who you are in every aspect of your life, how can you show your God authentic? You know what I'm trying to say.
You got it. You got it.
Uh-huh.
Okay. That's good.
Authenticity. That's what you're trying to say. Got you. See, teamwork makes the dream work.
You knew what you meant.
We got you. For me, set apart, I think, in the words of Jay, I think y'all have said it. I probably would have taken y'all answers. For me, being set apart means being different, not being of the world, not taking on the culture of the world, not taking on the language of the world, not taking on the mindsets of the world. And so for me, when I think about being set apart, it means to be distinct, right? It means to really be an example. I think that
for sure.
we realize the honor and the privilege that we get when we are able to be set apart, not making you better than anybody, but really showing what the grace of God looks like, because it's evident in your life from the fact that He has set you apart.
Yeah.
So that would be my answer. But I want to go back to the Gen Z, because I'm super excited that we have y'all on here and we don't get to talk to y'all a lot. So when I have y'all on here and we have you on here, I just want to
hear everything.
I want to hear everything. So I want to know from you all, what are some of the challenges you see your generation facing right now?
That's a good question.
I mean, for what I see, like, just one problem is like even when I was like 13 or 12, like a lot of kids were like vaping a lot, you know what I'm saying? Like, so when they're like my age, like right now, they're like addicted, and it's like they're so far gone. So that's one problem I see. Definitely, like peer pressure, you know, going around. So a lot of that's going on.
Okay.
That's good.
I would kind of say the same thing, but I feel like it's being like taken very lightly now. Like, it's not such a big thing for people anymore. So I feel like they can easily just do it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's everywhere. It's also normal now.
Yeah.
Not for me. I'm just saying this is normal.
How do we?
Go ahead, Alex.
No, you're good.
Oh, you want me to go? I was gonna say, I honestly agree, because when teaching, you know, I saw that as like a worldwide epidemic. Like, it was just kids sneaking it into schools. I mean, being so creative, sneaking it in the schools was beyond me, mind blowing. You know, I would be hearing some of the stories like, oh, they snuck it in through like the lining of the backpack. Like, okay, now y'all just go, y'all been way too creative just to get these vapes. Like, it is an addiction. Like, so like y'all just saying that is a really big issue that I see with that generation, especially in the schools, the sneaking it in the schools. And, you know, for me, it's almost like, who's buying them for them? Because I don't think y'all age groups are able to buy it, right? So how are
maybe
these
the age limit went down?
Fake IDs.
Say it again?
Some of them be having like fake IDs, dispensaries, older brothers, cousins, and all that.
And you'd be very surprised on how many parents
allow
and go get them. Because I was a teacher as well, and I had a few students that would vape, and they'd be like, "Oh yeah, what?
Like, oh yeah, my mom bought it for me. What?
Yeah.
My cousin, my auntie, or I took it from my parents. Like, sometimes their parents be smoking or whatever the case is.
Okay.
From their parents too. So they'll be in the living room together if you don't, you know. So it's an epidemic for sure.
And I think a lot of the kids are doing it because they don't see it as I guess like a chronic, like I guess as far as like marijuana, like they don't see it as severe. Like it's not crazy. Like, oh, I'm not smoking weed, it's just a vape, right? They try to, I guess, justify the means of it, but it's like it's still not okay. It's still not right. You shouldn't be doing it. So it's like, how can we, as
Vape
both,
much worse.
can we be like a voice to be like, okay, like that's not a necessity, but we like, how can we push that? It's not that bad. It's not that deep. You don't need that. How would you, Gen Z, how would y'all push that? Like, you don't need it. Like, how would you shed light to them?
Another thing that Gen Z don't like do is listen. So I don't really know. They
You might be gonna throw that out there.
That's a whole word right there.
I told y'all it was gonna be honest.
yeah, we
Man, you say y'all don't
Yeah.
listen.
some of us
They don't.
but like
Yeah,
it's
majority.
it's kind of hard to get through us and
But I
we
think
suffer sometimes.
even to RJ's point earlier, listening to you all, one of the things that I think is a problem is our generation doesn't understand the influence that we have, right? So when he's saying parents are buying it for their children, we introduce them to that stuff, right? When we glorify drinking, smoking, partying, they're thinking like, hey, that's cool. Like, I want to be the it girl too. So I want to do that. Again, using Imani as an example, and I could do the same with Jay, both of them talk about the firm foundations they have in parents. So there are certain things that right now that's not even an interest to them because they've been raised in such a way. And so really upbringing sometimes plays a major role. That's why as millennials, like, even if you see a young kid going crazy, I would prefer as an adult that you don't talk about them, but you mentor them. Right? Because we don't realize the power in mentorship or even our voice. Like, I have met so many of my former students that I had years past who will say, you really made a difference in my life just by speaking what you spoke. And so listening to them tonight, when they say they don't listen, they're probably right. They will not listen to your words, but they will believe your actions. So if you show up for them, it may mean more to them and change their lives than anything you speak.
That was good.
I think let me add something to that. I think a way to start that conversation is asking what they're getting from that, because some people are doing it socially just because somebody else is doing it. Some people are using that as a way of escape. And so one thing I learned in Christian counseling is that you can get to the root of why people do some things. You can also help them walk out of it by literally addressing what they go to that vaping experience for. Like, some people are using it as a mechanism to grieve. Some people are using it to just, they feel like they need that to still themselves, to calm themselves. And so I would ask, what is it that you think you get from that? And then start the conversation there.
I like that. That was good. Because, I mean, like y'all saying, a simple conversation, because, again, some of them don't even know the severity of it. They just doing it because social reason, like, oh, everybody's doing it, so let me do it. But a lot of them don't know the actual harm it causes to your body, your mental state. So it's like a conversation would, do a lot. It opens the door to a lot, Yeah. Jay, did you want to add anything?
I mean, for someone that's been like, it's like some of my friends, right? They've been smoking for like a long time. So like for them, they're trying to stop, but like it's already like almost too late for them to stop. You know what I'm saying? So that type of thing. So like sometimes you're too far gone. So you gotta really like can't do it at a young age, and then once you get to a point where you're older and about to be an adult, like you're already like stuck on it. So for some people, it's
hard for them to walk away from it.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to walk away from it.
I can attest to that because we have to remember that they are still in their developmental years. And so whatever they are doing now really is going to be, I ain't saying the Lord ain't gonna be able to pull them through. That ain't what I'm saying.
Right.
But I'm saying just on a practical standpoint of just their bodies and how their mind, their frontal lobes, if they are feeding, it's going to be very difficult to get them off because they have learned that even through the psyche. Like for an adult, your frontal lobe is closed. You have to make that decision almost. As a kid, it's just kind of see all be all, and you're gonna take whatever you can.
Especially if they built dependencies on it.
Yeah.
Like they've merged that into their lifestyle, like brushing their teeth. That's it takes a different type of approach to that. And
that's
just one little last point, and not being able to see many come out of it and actually help walk them through that. We see more people getting into those type of lifestyles and not enough of people getting out of it and articulating how they got out. They just saying, today ain't millennial bashing, so I'm not going to deal with that. But they told us, let's pray about it. Just pray about it. Lord, just fast and pray, and that's it. And, not saying that it doesn't work, but it would have helped to have more elaborative, ways to deal with those struggles.
I get what you're saying. Yeah. And I feel like that's important because, again, you make yourself vulnerable enough. Because I think Alice mentioned it earlier, like we're here to be an influence, to help, I just kind of, shake it off like, oh, go pray about it, because that's often what people say, oh, go pray about it, But to actually have somebody that will essentially like take you under their wing and like show you like, hey, this is how I did it. This helped me get over it. This helped me walk out of it. I think is really good. So that was
like a role model. That's what you're saying, Tay.
Yes. That's good. Ooh, this is good, y'all. I'm loving it. Gen Z, y'all coming hard tonight. I love it. Do one of my gentlemen have a question for the Gen Z?
So I think this would be a good segue when Alice was talking about how do we talk to them, or I think Batavia was talking about how do we talk to them, how do we get to them since they don't listen, Imani, how do you encourage your counterparts to not compromise on their gifts and their beliefs? How do you get them to a point where you can, I'll reword it. How do you get them to a point where you are able to impart, where you're able to get them to listen? Because they may not listen for instruction, but they'll probably listen to a conversation. So how do you go about that when you're concerned about a friend or when you're concerned about a teammate, hooper? How do you kind of deal with that?
So me, I would basically like share like similarities that we have, because if you come across to them that like I guess you better than them or something, they automatically gonna shut down. And be an example, and like Miss Alice said, showing action, because if we just talking, we're very big on like seeing what you're doing. So if you're doing what you're talking about, then you're
easily to be more receptive. Okay.
And just talking to them and not talking at them.
That's a good one.
Can they discern the difference? And I'm asking that specifically like that because, even when you word things the right way, people can still hear it a different way. And I'm not counseled that many Gen Z, but I will say is that something that all Gen Z people it's a whole demographic. I'm acting like y'all a whole different demographic. I feel like I'm old now. I'm saying it. Good Lord. And that all Gen Z kind of are really well at listening and hearing what is actually being said and how it's said, and not what they're perceiving it to be, perceiving it to mean, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So Jay, what did you want to add to that? How would you answer RJ's question?
Well, for me, like similar, like what Imani said about like similarities, but also just like more just like listening, like they, like a lot of people that that's going through some stuff, like, just let them like talk, and then eventually they'll like kind of like tell their whole life story. You know what I'm saying? Then I could just kind of add on and like, share similarities. And also sometimes actions speak louder than words. So some people that just don't listen, like maybe the things that you're doing, you're probably just like, they'll probably like want to like do better. You know what I'm saying? That's probably like the best I could really do in that particular thing.
Okay, I like it. So
I
y'all, you need
have
to.
one more thing to say.
Okay, go ahead.
I would also say like to build a relationship with them, because sometimes I know like you don't, how can I word this? They might not be like you, but if you build a relationship with you, it'll open more trust into like what you're saying.
I like that.
That's funny that she says that, because when I was listening to the two of you, what I kept picking up on is being people's safe space.
Yeah.
Right. And when we look at the life of Jesus, he really was everyone's safe space. They could go to him without feeling like they were going to be judged, even though they were going to be told the truth in order to improve their lives. And what you both said is really demonstrating the characteristics of Jesus, where it's like, hey, I'm here. I want to be in it with you. Let's have the conversations and not shying away from them. So I just want to say, as a millennial, that I'm really proud of you all. And I'm hoping that your generation, that y'all will really spearhead being the change that another generation needs, just based off of your answers tonight. So I'm really enjoying this conversation, and we're only 20 minutes in, and the comments are like super fire, and I can't wait for them to hear the rest of what y'all are going to say, because I know that it's going to be super powerful. So,
okay.
Y'all know we're not talking tonight. We don't have anything to say.
we want to hear from the Gen Z. Yeah. But I was going to add something to that about the safe space, because I do think that is important, because so often, and I know me personally, I've heard kids be like, oh yeah, I'm vaping. And my initial act is like, but why? I got that stank face, like, why are you doing that? But it comes off as judgmental. We shouldn't be in a place where, we're judging them. We should, like Leon said, start that conversation like, what is it that you use that for? What does that do for you? It's not so much about like, why are you doing that? Like, but what do you get out of that? So again, going back to that safe space, helping them to understand through conversation, helping them to be able to walk away with just being there to support them through that. So this is really good. I feel like that was a major issue that I see a lot with Gen Z. So I'm glad y'all brought it, to the forefront. So more people could hear about it. More people can identify how to, walk through it. Go ahead, RJ.
I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to interrupt you at all. So what I'm also hearing is timing. Because I know if I'm doing something that I'm not supposed to be doing, or I'm doing something that is not necessarily favorable, the first time I tell you, you ought not to be trying to tell me not to do it. Like it's going to be an automatic no, because, so what I hear is like, you have to make a deposit in order to get a withdrawal. Like, so you don't get to come into my life and tell me how to deal with my life and tell me what I should be doing if you ain't nobody to me. Or if your words don't hold no weight. I think in our generation, we were taught, if an adult say something, you just do it. That's just it. You just listen. You don't listen. They ain't no, because I said so. For them, it's more, Okay,
Who are you?
One. Number two, what are you saying to me? What is our and number three, and what is our relationship like? So it's not just they're grown, you listen. It's more about the relationship and about who you are and how fast you decide you want to change me.
Right.
But they'll quickly hit you with that. Who is you? And they're just like that. Who is you? Like,
Okay.
who are you? Go ahead, Eli.
Which presents a very valid question. If you see a Gen Zer, hopefully I'm saying it right, going down the wrong path, but you do not have an active, I guess, a built connection, what should you do in that regard? You know they're going to resist what you say. You don't have a relationship just yet. How should they receive the truth, even if it's from someone that they don't have a relationship with, if that's the way that they receive it and will listen to it?
Are you asking that to Gen Z or just anybody?
Anybody. Yeah, just anybody. And whoever can think about that. Because RJ brings up a really valid point about timing. Like, it seems like Gen Zers value what you say off a relationship or off of evidence. And more so relationship. If we don't have a relationship, yet I'm telling you the truth about something, if I don't have a relationship, that means you may not receive the truth that I'm sharing.
I get that. I get what you're saying. I guess I could kind of give an example, because when I was teaching, I had, of course, some students that, I didn't make like an instant connection with. I wasn't always that particular person's go-to, but I knew a teacher that student had a great relationship with. So I'm like, if I see something, I'm like, okay, let me take time to actually go sit with such and such to just kind of, run it down like, hey, maybe you can talk to him. Maybe you could address this issue. I'm seeing this, but, he's not too receptive to me, but maybe you can, step in and, help with that situation. So I feel like even though you might not have a particular relationship or know somebody, maybe you could, be resourceful, find somebody that child might particularly, meant to be like, hey, we can work on this together. You could do it by yourself, but I really feel like this is a need. I see this issue, so let's handle it. But that's how I would answer that question.
So for us, even though we don't see there's an immediate connection, don't let that be an excuse to not try to find a way to share the truth.
That part.
Go to your parents or go to a friend. Just make them aware of, hey, this is something that they need to be aware of. Yeah. Because most people tend to like to mind their own business and like, hey, if I can't do nothing, I'm going to just mind my own business, go my own way. That's your problem. But for us as believers, we got to take the initiative. And go ahead, RJ.
Also, I think when you said that, I heard seed. Sometimes you just gotta plant the seed, whether they
my business.
Oh, okay. So whether they put it in this, whether they put it in the sand or not, it's eventually gonna hit something. The truth will always prevail. So when you guys go out, whether they receive it or not, whether they cuss you out or not, because some of them might, whether they, whether they do those type of things, you have to know, okay, I at least said Jesus to him. I at least planted something in it. So it will, because one thing for sure will last is the Lord. So if that's the case, then it's going to grow. It may grow in some cement, but it's going to grow. So
RJ is all in my business, because as soon as Leon asked that question, 1 Corinthians 3:6 came to my mind, and it says, I planted the seed, Apollos watered it, but God has been making it grow. And so literally, as soon as Tay started talking, I was like, oh, that makes sense, because that's essentially what she's doing. Like, she may plant the seed, the other teacher may go and speak, she's going to water it, but God will make it happen, right? So I think the reality is we all need to play our part. The Spirit of the Lord.
Woo, that was good.
Like, if the Lord lays it on your heart, he's doing it for a reason. And here's the reality. It may not be you may not even see it. Like you may never even be able to witness the change in that child, but your word will be one of the things that essentially help their development. Right. So don't feel like, well, I'm just not going to say anything. One of the things that we grew up on, this generation doesn't see it as much, is it takes a village to raise a child. Somehow, some way, the village has dispersed and went everywhere. Right. The village is minding their business. But I think we can come back to that mentality of, hey, if I see something, and here's the reality. Planting a seed doesn't always mean speaking to that child. Sometimes planting a seed means coming up against that spirit. Yeah. Because here's the reality. If we think about Ephesians 6, we are not even wrestling with that child.
It's flesh and blood.
It's the spirit that has been over that child that we need to be intercessors for and pray that them, right? Yeah. And so you can't argue with a demon. Yeah. And I'm not calling y'all children demon because they're going to start writing us, Tay. But what I am saying is that there are certain generational curses. If mama had an attitude, if baby got an attitude, we got to start looking at the bloodlines and saying this is red in the family and somebody needs to run it out.
Yeah.
Right? So our jobs as people who are of faith is to be able to recognize those things and then say, hey, let me put a master plan together with God and actually take this. I'll tell y'all, I worked years ago. I won't name the organization, but I worked with children, and we had a little boy who his mother was trying to make him a cross-dresser. This baby would come in every single day and say that he was a girl.
What?
And literally I was like, all right, cool. I was just coming into the Lord. I said, this is going to be fun. This is the assignment. And every day I would lay hands on that baby. Right. I didn't know that his father was Christian and his father was praying as well. Well, by the end of my year working at that facility, that baby was no longer wearing dresses. That baby
Thank goodness.
was referring to himself as a girl. He was operating in who he was really called to be. But all it took is two individuals who didn't even know they were coming into agreement to pray over that child. And that child's life changes. So again, we don't realize the power of our voice and the power of our intercession. So again, as RJ was saying, and just everyone that is spoken, plant the seed, water it, whatever your assignment, do it so that God can make it happen in his timing.
Yeah.
Love it.
So hear what we are saying and what we're not saying. Their soul is not your responsibility. However, it is an opportunity for you.
Yeah.
So I don't want you to take like this. You know, there's a song. He's not a gospel artist.
Know your grace.
Yeah, he has a song that says, "I want to save you, but I'm not God." Right? I want to heal you, but that's not my job. You want to make sure that you just do your part, because oftentimes what us, at least this millennial right here, we often took on people's lives, and now we're stressed out because our friend is still doing. We don't do that. Okay.
Come on.
And show seed. You have to make sure that you are still boundaries are still a thing. Sometimes we get so spiritual where we start to some things you're not supposed to know. You're just supposed to know. Okay, he's smoking. That's all I'm supposed to know. I'm not supposed to know about mom, pop, and sister, because sometimes that will cloud you. Now you distracted. Now you know. So make sure that yes, you are knowledgeable about things, but you don't take people's lives on, because let me say this too: spirits carry. Yeah. The Bible says bad corrupts good. So if you around them for too long and you don't do your job, you are more likely to start smoking too, versus you staying strong on your own.
That was
so make
good.
sure you have your good company. I'm done.
So be nosy within means, essentially.
Yeah.
Know your assignment. Yep.
Know your assignment. That was good. Gen Z, know y'all assignment.
Y'all know your assignment. It needs to be said. That's a little bit more than them, probably. Okay, RJ, because I was gonna say to myself, sometimes you gotta look at yourself in the mirror and say, self,
know your assignment.
You know, because it really does take work that many of us don't feel like doing. to actually take the initiative to follow through, to do the behind the scenes work. So yeah, you're absolutely right. We got to talk to us and know our assignment and follow through. Yeah, because we worried about bills and our businesses, and we still have a mandate from God. Yeah, we still got to call him from God. So yeah,
that's good. Gen Z's, how y'all feeling tonight?
I'm doing good.
I'm all right. I'm just vibing.
Just vibing. Okay. Oh, that's what we like. Cause we just be vibing over here. Okay. So since y'all good and y'all vibing, I want to take this time to let y'all ask some questions. So whoever would like to go first.
I mean, I got a question.
Okay. Go for it.
Do you think young Christians should get more educated about politics?
That's a really good question.
Indeed.
Okay, you didn't come to play.
Okay.
We kind of gave y'all the
question. Hey, young buck, chill, man. So this is what I have to say about that. The Bible says, "Do not be no earthly good." So you need to know the basic necessities of what you need to pray for. But in politics, I would say absolutely, it don't need to be detail oriented, because a lot of the detail oriented things that they are introducing is completely insane. One, and especially for your generation, I think once y'all realize that it's okay, it's all fair game. Like there's a different, like for us millennials, although the world said it was okay, it was still not okay.
Right.
But for y'all, the world is saying it's okay, and it's really okay. So I would say education based off of, let me know what to pray for, let me know what to look for, the tools to be able to keep moving forward in the careers and the destinies and all the different stuff. Yes, but take the meat and leave the bones.
That was good.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
That was good. Who added to that next?
I could add something else to it. Here's another perspective. I think it's important that Gen Z, or all of us, know our callings as we know Christ, because for some people, knowing politics shouldn't be a priority to them, because their calling isn't to oversee, intercede for that particular area in this earthly existence. So I think you should be aware of things that are going on in your nation, in your community, but there are certain people that are specifically called to those areas, prophets, those that God are using as voices to come against things that are happening in our nation, in our government. Those have a different type of priority for political things versus someone else who's called to another area of ministry. So I think we all should have a base awareness, but there are some that need to be fully aware, and the Lord will show them as they spend their time with God.
Okay.
Yeah.
So young Christians should have some type of awareness, but like only like a select few should really get involved in politics.
I think so.
Yeah.
Like you said, if you know for sure that God called you to that area of focus, politics, then of course, you be obedient and you go do your job. But if you're not so per se called to it, but yes, be educated, be aware, like they said, know what's going on. You have to be alert. What y'all say, woke, I don't know if that's a millennial term or Gen Z, but be woke, be aware of what's going on, because it affects everybody to some extent. Some of these things that these politicians, some of these, things that they're letting go of, putting in place, affects Christians. So if you're a Christian and you're not even aware of like, oh, they're saying this about Christians, they're not letting Christians do this, then you just, you'll just be in limbo and not knowing what's going on. So definitely be aware of what's going on And I think that goes back to what we've been saying, know your role, because sometimes we're just called to intercede for the politics, intercede for policies that's going forward, rules, laws, regulations. We're supposed to be interceding about those things because, again, they affect all of us. So be educated about what's going on. And if you feel like you're called to that, please be obedient and pursue that. And I do believe God is going to cover you in that, because we know politics can be, real shady game of, chess or whatever. I probably watch too many shows. But but yeah, like, be aware. I think that's essentially what needs to be done. Be aware. And I'm trying to think, because I know, like, let me see, Daniel, for instance, in the Bible, he wasn't like a politician, but he was in that realm of politics and stuff. Like, he worked with kings and all of them, but he was somebody that was like, I have to serve in this because, this is what I'm called to. This is my job. But he knew where to draw the line. He knew that he was never going to compromise his beliefs and his faith in God. So when certain stuff happened, he was like, I'm done with that. I can ride with this, I can rock with this, but for this, because it's trying to separate me from God, it's trying to come between me and my relationship with God, I can't go for it. So again, if you're called in those spaces and you are a Christian, hold on to that foundation that your ruler, your sovereign ruler is the Lord Jesus Christ, not the president or anybody else that you serve under. Your Lord and sovereign is Jesus Christ, and that's what it always needs to be. Hold on to your foundation of faith and your beliefs, because when certain things happen, you're gonna be like, okay, y'all carry me too fast. I ain't rocking with that, so let me go on the exit stage left because I ain't with that, right? So that's what I would say to that.
I want to give another perspective on why you should be aware too. She mentioned Daniel. What most people forget about Daniel is that the scripture reveals that Daniel served under 4 kings and was successful under those 4 kings. So not just be aware of political things in terms of what to pray against wickedness, but there are some things that could be used for the success of your family, for the success of your business, even just knowing how to maneuver for the safety of your wealth and your riches, and just protection, even the security of just knowing certain laws not to break. Even if it's just for that, you got to understand there's 2 sides of government. So I think there should be an awareness on not just the wickedness of government, but some of the wealth that could be used to help just support your family.
And I'm also thinking about the ones that are called to that. I'm hearing somebody say, well, I really have a burning passion for this, though. Like, and I know that I'm young, but I have a burning passion for this. That is called a calling, an anointing, a certain grace to have that, especially if you thinking about politics as a young person, there is a desire in your heart that was placed in some way, shape, or form, and oftentimes it was by the Holy Spirit to prepare you for where you're going to go. So I see people upcoming lawyers, upcoming judges, these people, they are already starting now. If I run into a judge, they probably gonna say I started at 17, 16, 15 years old, and I was already studying and thinking. So if that's I guess it's about the heart posture of the thing. Because if you just doing it, if you going in there to be nosy, chances are you're gonna get mess. Right. But if you're going in there for a specific reason, or if the Lord just called you, or just to be better educated, like Leon was saying, better educated, so you know how to operate in this world, then cool. But I also like to speak to those people that are young and that maybe have that mindset, like, oh, I really want to be so and so and so and so, the president of the United States. There's room for that. So just
for sure. That's good. Go ahead, sis. What you added?
I struggled with this question. And For good and bad reasons, I guess. RJ was talking about the young kids who really feel called to government. What most people will never find out about me is that I originally went into school as a poli-sci major, right? Because I really loved political science. In high school, I did government model legislature, was in government in school, like all types of stuff, right? So that was like, for me, I thought that was my calling, but I didn't realize that the reason the Lord had given me that is because he gave me a prophetic mantle. Right. And so I had a heart for politics. I have a heart for the nation, but it's also because spiritually I'm supposed to cover the nation.
Yeah.
Right. So I do believe that as believers, I don't care how old you are, you live in this nation, you ought to pray for it.
Yep.
It doesn't make sense that you would not pray for the place that you live in, that you wouldn't want peace for the place that you live in. And so I believe that every believer, I hear a lot of believers who are like, I'm not praying for this wicked nation. You live in it. So if the people care, I don't know what delusional clouds you're living under.
Local
but
and
if one fail, baby, we all fail. So for me, I'm going to pray for the nation, right? So that we don't perish. I don't want none of that. Right. So that's one thing. But the second thing is what I don't want young believers to do, because this can happen, is that politics buries you in this state of, oh my goodness, the world is at this place.
Right.
Right. Because this is something that can happen. You get overwhelmed with what's going on in the world. Right. And that's not of God. So yes, he will give you a burden. But going back to, I think it was RJ earlier, where he was talking about when it feels heavy and you start carrying stuff you're not supposed to, if it gets to that place, understand you may not fully be graced for that. Right. So really going back to knowing your assignment and knowing like what you're graced to pursue. Right. So there may be a level of pray for this nation, but you may not have to pray for the president. You may not have to pray for the different services that are there. So again, know the levels. Like God may be calling you just to pray for your local government. God may be telling you to pray for the children in different parts. There's so many different parts. So I think that, again, having a relationship with God is essential. Because if you have a relationship with God, he will direct you on what your assignment is to pray for. And so going back to your question, Jay, I do believe that Christians do need to be in politics to an extent. Whether that means actually being in it or praying in it, you have to ask the Lord, what am I going to do and how do I do it? Because here's the reality. If we look at Joseph, Joseph was in politics. If we look at Daniel, Daniel was in politics. If we look at King Solomon, he was in politics. If we look at David, he was in politics. Because essentially, even though, think about it, kingship is politics, it's just a different dynamic of that, if that makes sense. And so all throughout the Bible, we see that God was concerned with politics because he was concerned with the nations, because he was concerned with Israel. So if you think that God does not care about people, you're delusional. Why did he die? Right. He died because he loved people. So we have to love the things that God loves. And so even though there's corrupt politics, we still, it's our job to pray against that stuff. We don't realize the power that we have, right? There are certain things when a nation begins to pray. Look at Esther. The plots and the plans of the enemy can't prevail because a nation rises up. 2 Chronicles, when my people who are called by my name. And so we do have a responsibility, I believe, to pray for politics. I could stay on that all night, Jeremiah. You shouldn't ask that question.
That was a good question.
Hey, Alice, tell the people in the comments to comment, know your assignment. I think everybody y'all go ahead and comment, know your assignment.
Yeah, that's good.
I need y'all to put that as your status too. Forget just the comments. I need them to put it as their status on their social media. Know your assignment and tag us. Because literally, I think the whole world needs to hear that. Because if people learn their assignments, they would not be outside of purpose, and they probably would be more happy. A lot of people are bitter because they're not in purpose, but that's another conversation for another day.
Another deep conversation.
Another deep conversation. So Jeremiah, did you want to add anything to your question?
I already knew the answer to my own question, but You know what I'm saying? Ain't much really add on.
Okay.
So then, boss, what's your answer?
Yeah, what insight can you share with us?
I mean, some of y'all already, hit the target. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
For real, for real.
Mr. Costello, we trying to get insight with you. Shout out to Corey for the plug real quick. What is the insight, sir?
I mean,
So apart from what we
the
said,
thing with,
okay, go ahead.
I say is like it's good to be educated and have some type of awareness. And the thing with me is like, yeah, have awareness and education, but like know like what's right from wrong. Because sometimes the world be saying stuff like this is okay and all that, and you just gotta have enough awareness to know, yeah, that's not okay. You're a young Christian. You should be, like thinking in a different perspective on like the world view. You know what I'm saying? Like we gotta have like different lenses on how we see the world. You know what I'm saying? So
wisdom.
yeah,
You were just gonna sit over there and keep that bottle in,
right?
I already knew my answer to my question.
We wanted to hear it.
Yeah.
We need to hear from you, sir.
Imani, did you want to add to that? If not, go ahead with your question.
I'll add and then I'll go to my question.
Okay.
But in the beginning, like when we would talk about like presidency and everything, I would think it was a joke because just the way how they would act, and like you want us to think you can run the country and you acting like this. But I won't get too much on our president, but yeah. But let me go on to the next question.
Go ahead.
My question is, what Christian standards have you seen compromised in the church from today's generation compared to a millennial generation? Like, for example, more worldly music, like being accepted in the world or in the church.
Wow.
Hold on, before we go into that, I want to add something because she asked that question, but as soon as she said it, no shade, no tea. I thought of Mike Todd because Mike Todd was they not like us in the church and people got upset. So I want to know, is there a balance of bringing the world into the church and making it culturally acceptable for the Gen Zs? And maybe the Gen Zs can answer if that appeals to them. But I want to kind of hear from y'all what y'all think about that. Because as soon as she said that, I thought about some of the saints bringing.
Yeah. I mean, if the brother playing clean music, he could kind of like finesse his way through that message.
Wait, which one? Say that.
Cause like they not like us. Like he could like there could be like some theme to his message or something like that. So I mean, I feel like that'd be all right.
So if your pastor decides to like bring Kendrick in or any of the others, you feel like for your generation that is okay, like it's relatable.
No, bring Kendrick.
It don't have. It could be Kendrick. It could be Drake. It could be appropriate lyrics. Like, do y'all feel like as Gen Zers that that's okay?
I mean, for me personally, that probably wouldn't be all right to have like Drake or Kendrick in an actual concert in church because what they represent is not what the church represent. But like just playing the music, I don't see nothing wrong with that. If it's clean, because it could be like a part of his message.
Okay.
So you saying if he before his sermon he like playing they not like us but a clean version of it, and that's supposed to like headline into his actual sermon, the word of his sermon.
Yeah, I don't see nothing wrong with that.
Okay.
So I actually don't see nothing wrong with it either. Well, let me say this. Okay. I have two different perspectives on this.
Me too.
My first one is they will be reached. This might be what the Lord used. Like that's just simple. It's just simple. I feel like the Lord will turn anything around for his glory. There's a certain level, there's a certain people that he needs to get, and he know I'm gonna get that Kendrick boy to go to that church. It ain't really about Kendrick, it's about it's about them just stepping into the church for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a level of me that's super compassionate to say that can be a tool to pull people more to Christ. Now, there's when it comes down to when it comes down to churches like Mike Todd, I also believe that there are like levels in churches. There are these churches where it's just for those fresh believers.
Yeah.
And they're stepping into, and then they graduate to another church that is more apostolic doctrine. Then they go into being in ministry. So there's, I believe that there is a first time believer type of church. Then there is I really think a lot of mega churches are these first time believer churches. And once you get smaller, that's just my opinion, but once you get smaller, start going to those smaller churches, that's when you mature in the gospel. That's when you mature. Now, I'm not saying that these people that people that go to mega churches are not mature, but if you look at the demographic, a lot of these newer believers are going to these mega churches. They're not going to the church around the corner no more. They want to go see.
They want to go where it's lit, it's hype. They playing Kendrick, you know.
They want to go to something. So I believe that it's good if it's for God's glory. And that's just me.
Okay.
Now,
Okay.
I got some thoughts on that, but I'm gonna hold mine till the end because I got another question to ask y'all.
Okay.
Leon, did you want to add anything?
So there was like two different questions. I guess we're addressing. Imani's question was about, do millennials see any type of lax in standard within the Gen Z, right? And then Alice asked the question about the area of using maybe secular methods within a sacred context. With Imani, I guess my answer can include both. Imani, I would say, from the conversations I've had, a lot of more Gen Z is okay staying at the house, watching YouTube, not the YouTube, not oh Lord, watching for their sermons and kind of just relaxing there versus where I grew up, we going to church every Sunday, whether you sick, got a leg broke, arm broke, you going to church and you might get healed just because you went.
That's why I was just thinking in my head.
You got a cold, you mess around and get the cold fixed if you go to church. So I see that as probably I wouldn't necessarily, I don't think lax is the term I want to use, but there is a difference. Not that they reverence less, but the choice in in-person worship is a bit different. Now about the illustration of not like us at Mike Todd's church. And I think Jay said he's not against that, right? If I caught that right, as long as it's clean. I don't know how I feel about that. And I say that because we're living in a space, in a generation where just a pure gospel isn't enough, or seemingly doesn't feel like it's enough anymore. And so me just telling you the truth isn't drawing the hardened heart. Me telling who Jesus is seems, because of the stigmas that have been misrepresentation of Jesus Christ over the past few years, have seemingly pushed people away. And so that's why I see why Mike Todd and others feel like they have to go to those other methods just to bring and woo a generation back into the church. And so again, I don't have a stance on if it's right or if it's wrong, because not like us, the way that he used it did not glorify or what's the word? Did not promote, from what I know, a wicked nature or a wicked stance, like some of the other things that I think he's probably promoted.
I really hope y'all enjoyed this episode tonight. This segment was definitely one for the books. I mean, Gen Z has a special place in my heart, and I was just excited to bring them on. I was just listening. I love hearing from them. They have such great perspectives, all of that. So again, we are going to do a part 2. So make sure y'all come back next week. Somebody said I didn't want it to end. It was so good. It was so good. But make sure you come back next week for our part 2. We are diving more into this conversation because Imani and Jeremiah, they did not come with the questions. They hit us with politics, and then they hit us with how acceptable is worldly music in the church these days, because we know that that's becoming a thing. So we dive more into that next week. So come on, hear more from our Gen Z, because they talk more. Okay, they got more to say. And okay, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love y'all. I thank y'all for tuning in tonight, and I really hope to see y'all next week. So bye. Love y'all.